Hey, and welcome to this episode of Tea of Life podcast. I am Tiffany, your host, and I am talking with Erica Greene today. And Erica and I have been friends for, I would say, probably going on,
Oh, wow.
I don't even know, like years, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We met actually at a church that we used to attend and have just been friends ever since. Erica, as you can see, is a semi-new mom. Nate is he 9 months old? 10 months
Almost
old?
up. That was good.
Okay. Yeah. So you can see that she is in her first year of mommyhood and also dealing with quarantine at the same time. So I wanted to talk with her today and kind of get her, ideas, her point of view, just some things from her that she might be dealing with during this quarantine, experiencing both the good and the bad, and kind of hope that maybe these questions and answers can help some other people maybe feel like they're not alone, maybe that they are not experiencing what they're experiencing may not be, so weird and bad, after all, that we're all in this together. So welcome, Erica, to the Tea of Life podcast show today. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Erica, I want to start off with a few questions for you. And then during the interview, I actually have some questions that I did not send you in advance. So we're going to ask those a little bit, further down the line. But they're going to be some fun, spontaneous questions and answers for you. So you can look forward to that.
That sounds fun. I'm letting my loose. We'll see how this goes.
So first of all, Erica, I wanted to find out, are you okay? And do you feel like you're hanging in there?
I am okay. And I feel like I'm doing well, but I will admit that some days are harder than others. And they're actually just like moments where I'll go from like, okay, I got this. And then an hour later, I might just be kind of like, oh my gosh, like I don't have this at all. So it's been going up or down. I'll have moments of like the weakness where you're frustrated. He might be scream crying. We can't really get out of the house. And when we do leave the house, we have to be very careful. And it's like moments like those where sometimes just with everything and the circumstance going on, you just kind of, collapse and lose it. And then there are where you put it in perspective. And I realize like right now we are very healthy as far as we know. You kind of start putting things in a perspective. So it's been very much an up and down thing where 1 minute I'm like doing great, and the next minute I'm just like, it's kind of like that scene from Tangled, if you've seen Tangled, where she leaves, she goes outside, and one moment she's like, this is great, this is amazing, and the next minute she's like, I can't stand this, I can't believe I'm doing this. So I feel like that is my answer.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great answer. So, but do you have a backyard? Like you have a yard that you can go in, kind of get some sunshine and take Nate outside, or?
We do have a backyard. We've actually been working on the drainage part. So we had quite a bit of it dug up. So there's a lot of dirt and mud out there right now. But we have the front yard. Someone actually brought a baby pool to us the other day and left it on Chick-fil-A and Starbucks in it, which was, I cried. I cried. Sandwich and a coffee. But it was great. Like, cause I think, we can take them in the front yard. We can go on walks around the neighborhood. I did take them one day to do social distancing walk with a couple other moms. And we went to Etowah River Park, and it wasn't bad. I'm not sure we'll do that for a while though, because it's just other people that don't necessarily practice the social distancing. And I realized like that's probably not the best environment for Nate, just because he was premature when he was born, and they told us to be kind of extra cautious for the first year. So I'm like, well, we did that. Neighborhood walks are probably a little bit safer right now. Less people in one area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, at least you were able to get outside. I have a friend who lives in New York, and I was talking with her, and she has two boys. They're like 9 years old, I think. But they can't get out. Like they don't have a backyard because they live in a small apartment in New York City. And, maybe sometimes they can get to the park, but she said that the park is still crowded. And so it's just, I can't imagine.
No, especially with that age, at least having a living room, he's probably like, this is so much space. But definitely ones with older kids that are walking around and running, they're not able to really get out that, energy that they have. And that's important right now. Like if you're in the house with older kiddos, I mean, I know this age is kind of hard. I don't know if you can hear him right now, but he's playing with the blinds. A little hard because he just learned how to crawl and pull himself up while we've been in quarantine. I'll remove those blinds real quick.
Okay.
I just took away his fun. I'm sorry, kiddo. I was going to dress up, but then I realized like if this is supposed to be like real life quarantine, like we're in the jammy jams here.
Right. Well, I figure if you just dress up from, the top up, then people can't see you unless for one of those videos where you end up getting up and walking away and forgetting that you have, but I do have I have my nice fuzzy socks on. So it keeps me warm.
So I was like, look at me, like going fancy today.
That's awesome. Okay. So question of the year is probably going to be, do you have enough toilet paper? And if you run out, do you have a backup plan?
So right before this all went down, I only had like 2 or 3 rolls left. And it's really just my husband and I using the toilet paper. So I went out just when there were talks of Costco, like going empty and things like this. And I went to Target and I'm like, oh, there's plenty of toilet paper. So I bought like one of those packs that had 12 mega rolls, where they're like, this is like 48 rolls. And I'm like, sweet, that's amazing. But then when everything started to hit, you go through this scarcity mentality where it doesn't matter how much you have. If you see things are like flying off the shelves, you automatically start to think, do I have enough? And even though the answer is usually yes, you freak out. So I kind of like started to freak out a little, and I told my mom about it. And it took a couple, maybe 3 weeks, but mom one day found like toilet paper at the Walmart when she went, and she's like, I bought you toilet paper. And like, we still have 10 of the mega rolls left or something ridiculous. We still have plenty left, but now mom's like, it's in the laundry room and it's one of those mega packs as well. So luckily we have enough. We found out a couple people need some, and I'm like, hey, I got you hooked up, like, because we're at a place where I think adults, we know how to ration and be careful. I was feeling kind of worse for like, moms of kids who are like 4 or 5 and just potty training, and going through a whole roll every time. And I'm like, oh, like, but I'll be like completely transparent. The first couple weeks before my mom brought me the big thing of toilet paper, I was rationing. I was like, oh, 3 to 4 squares, that's all you need.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing that for a while, and I was like, oh, maybe if anything comes from this, I am learning how to conserve.
Right. And that was something that I talked about a few episodes back in one of my podcasts. And I talked about it with Christina when I was doing an interview with her. And, I've known, because we go hiking, in backcountry a lot, I know how much toilet paper I use. And typically I use 8 squares of toilet paper. Now that's not like 8 squares of Charmin, the thicker, whatever. It's just the regular like Aldi toilet paper that we use. I usually use like 8 squares. Well, I've now cut that down to 4 squares. Like I can get away with using 4 squares. And I'm like all excited about the fact that I've learned how to ration toilet paper better.
It is. Hear that it was toilet paper. I'm still not sure I 100% understand how that came about, but I've enjoyed all the memes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay. So how has life changed for you in the past few weeks, for you specifically?
I'm not working. I was working part-time, and that's been a little hard. I miss the kiddos that I normally work with. We've done a couple of FaceTimes. It's just not the same. Um, so that's been really different because that was a little bit of a reprieve from just regular mom life, where you could leave the house and like, I'm just not one, I don't like not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's describe it. But even after I had Nate, at first I'm like, I'm just going to do the stay-at-home mom thing and it is going to be awesome. 2.5 months later, I was on the phone with my clients and I'm like, hey, I know you haven't replaced me. Do you want me back? And I mean, I couldn't even go to it, but I mean, it's part-time, so I'm not like working all the time, but it's just enough to, be with Nate and have so much time with him, but also get out. So I'm definitely missing work. I got plugged in with a few mom groups, and those, I know people are like, moms will be your number one resource. And if you're a mom, you don't understand that, but it is something about going and having coffee with these ladies who they have kids my age and they empathize, and it's a place where there's little to no judgment. And people just encouraging you. And then you see the hardships they're going through and you're going through them too. And it makes you feel normal and it makes you feel like you're in a safe, secure place. So I was meeting up with moms like 2 to 3 times a week. And now that that's stopped, even though we're doing like Marco Polo and things like that, you miss their kids. And then when you see their little ones and they're not so little anymore, that's been really crazy. More time on social media. I don't know that that's a healthy thing for me personally. Right. I'm having trouble limiting it because I'll just sit there and I'll like, and just casually pick up the phone and jump on social media. And then I don't always feel better afterwards because I'm sure everyone's kind of dealing with that, where there's so much out there and it's not always positive. And I don't know, sometimes like you put the phone down feeling a little bit worse or maybe a little more hopeless, instead of it being something that's encouraging you and like filling you up. Mm-hmm. And then I guess one of the bigger things too is just not having extra hands for Nate right now. I don't think I realized how much I relied on other people. I mean, even when I was going to like a small church group, actually in Christina's home, and you have other people like picking up Nate and cuddling on Nate and loving on him. And you have like a couple moments where you're like, oh, this is like kind of nice. Like other people are watching him and wanting to be with him. So I kind of feel like there's no real reprieves other than like his nap time and bedtimes. And that I think has been really difficult. Things are not getting done around the house. Let's just say that.
Right. How has your spouse's work changed and how is that affecting your family life?
So Casey is a pharmacist. He actually works at a compounding pharmacy, and that has drastically changed. Now there's shortages on different medicines around the country. So the Georgia Department of Health contacted Casey's compounding pharmacy, and they're like, hey, these are the things we're short on. The hospitals need these things. A lot of them are even drugs needed to be able to ventilate patients, certain pain medications. Since they're low on those, Casey's Pharmacy is trying their best to produce as much as possible safely for the hospitals that are wanting it. Right now, I think they're working, I might be speaking out of turn, but I think it's 5 hospital systems. Wow. They realized like after the first like maybe half a week or so, they were not able to make production. So now they've gone into being open 24/7, which they've never done before. That includes weekends. And it's basically everybody has to play their part. So I'm very proud of my husband because he did choose to do several night shifts. They're doing 12-hour shifts, sometimes more than that.
Mhm.
He is night shift tonight, but he's actually at work right now trying to get a couple things fixed that they needed fixed. So he should be upstairs and asleep, but he came down a couple hours ago and he's like, I have to go to the pharmacy. And I'm like, ah.
Wow.
So it's been a little hard. Like he's working, like I said, 60 plus hours a week, mostly night shifts, but it is hard, like, because when he has a day shift, it's switching that like sleep schedule. That's been really difficult. See Casey as much. We don't have a full day to enjoy him. It used to be we'd have Saturday and Sunday. So that's been hard, I think, and just feeling like I'm solely responsible for Nate, and the two dogs and the household. So that's been rough. And Casey's tired. He's tired most of the time. So I don't feel that we are always at our best.
Mm-hmm.
And last night we had a little scuffle, but I think we both like realized, Neem and Casey's like, look, we're both stressed. We're both tired. And I'm like, I know. But it's been cute. Like Nate gets really excited when he sees Casey. So, I mean, like if Casey comes in the early hours of the morning and Nate's up, Nate's just like, oh, so Casey play with him a little bit before he goes to bed. And then Casey's usually up and awake getting ready for work when it's time to put Nate down. So Casey has been able to help me put Nate to bed most nights. So we are making that work.
Yeah. And I bet that's tough too, with Casey sleeping and having to keep Nate quiet because, normally you're sleeping at night, everybody's sleeping, but if he's sleeping during the day and then you have a baby who's making all this, noise, and maybe it's just, Nate playing or whatever, but it could be Nate screaming.
Yeah.
I'm sure that probably affects Casey's sleep as well.
I think it has, like, he tells me it's just hard sleeping during the day, no matter what. I will say, like, at night, he's able to sleep through when this little guy wakes up and starts crying in the middle of the night. Casey,
well, that's kind of normal though, anyway. That's normal for the dads anyway, right? How's that any different?
I sneeze and I'm like, oh, no, somebody sneeze.
I know.
But so I asked Casey, I'm like, are we being too loud? And he's saying everything's okay. But it's hard because, like I said, I don't think he's getting a great night's sleep anyway, or day sleep, just because he's like, it's just weird sleeping during the day. And I like moved blackout curtains from the basement upstairs, and I tried everything I could to kind of, but
yeah, but that's really tough.
I know they're working the really hard hours. I know it's hard. I've been in contact with some of the other families of the pharmacists and pharmacy techs and, other parents. There's one of his coworkers right now, she's working night shift while her husband during the day is taking care of their two kids while he tries to work from home. So it's amazing seeing people like making that sacrifice. And I keep telling myself it's just for a couple more weeks. It's projected to just be a couple more weeks. So even Casey, like he's pushing through knowing that there is that like light at the end of the tunnel where it will return back to normal. And I think that's helping us like keep things in perspective where it's like, this is hard, but it's not forever.
Right. Right. We just need to keep telling ourselves that over and over and over again. It's not forever. It's not forever. So how do you think that social distancing has affected you the most?
I am usually a very social person. I love being around people. I love talking with people, listening to people. Being at home most of the time with the baby has been very challenging. It's fun in some aspects, but he's not a conversationalist. I feel bad when Casey does get home. I know he needs to wind down and like go to bed. But part of me is like, I need grown up conversation in person. I really miss those one-on-one grown up interactions right now.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I've been in, not necessarily in your shoes, but I've been at a point to where, you know, my kids were little, or they were babies, or it was just me and my firstborn son, and then my husband working and me home. And I remember those times being really tough, and we weren't socially distancing, we weren't quarantining at all, but I still went through those times of feeling lonely and distant from other people, and like it was just me and my son all the time. Then when my husband would come home, I would be, you know, just like Miss Blabbermouth, and he would be like, "Oh my gosh, I've had enough interaction for today," you know. And I remember, and that was just normal everyday life. That wasn't in during, you know, a quarantine. And so I can't imagine how much more you're feeling it in this situation, to like, I mean, it's a whole nother degree of feelings there where you're experiencing this. And I can imagine being there.
Well, I appreciate that. That makes me feel better. It's like, okay, if this is hard, like on a regular basis, it's okay for it to be a little extra hard during quarantine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And you would expect it to be harder. I mean, this isn't easy. And I don't think we really expect it to be easy for anyone. So,
Right.
yeah. So, how do you think that your family has dealt with not being able to get together with you? Like from their point of view, how is it affecting them?
Definitely hardest on the parents. We were supposed to go on our first like real family vacation in like I think since 2013. We were supposed to go to the beach in March, and it was pretty much right when everything started going down. And then they closed the beaches, and luckily we were able to move. We called the vacation place, and luckily they were awesome. They were like, "Hey, we'll just let you move it to a different date. We'll let you move it further out." I've heard other people have not had that luck.
Mm-hmm.
We get to July. Thank you, friend. But I think that was really hard. Everyone was so looking forward to it. It's hard, like when you get cousins and aunts and uncles all taking off work. And I mean, it's hard just orchestrating a family vacation with just your inner circle family. And then when it's like grandparents and
Right.
aunts and all of a sudden, like you find that prime and you make it work, and it's like, ah,
Right.
and I think that was really hard on the family. There were some tears over that because we were just really looking forward to it. But now we have it to look forward to in July. So that we FaceTime Casey's mom at least every other day. She is kind of in the high risk zone because she has some issues with her lungs. So that's been really hard because we'd actually set it up to where she was going to start coming over every week, if not, maybe every other week, and stay overnight to help me with Nate a couple nights. And then all of a sudden for like, when you set that up, then all of a sudden you're calling and it's like, we want you to come because we love you. But at the same time, we love you, you can't come because Casey's still going to work. We hope that everything's fine and his exposure is limited, but at the same time, there's still exposure. So that's been hard, but we even called her this morning on FaceTime, and she seems to really enjoy that because Nate actually does interact with her a lot on time, which has been really good to see. My mom, of course, dropped off the toilet paper the week before Easter, and she, I saw tears in her eyes because she looked at Nate. She's like, "Oh my gosh, he's getting so big and I want to hold him so much, but I'm still working. So I'm not, because I don't want to expose him." And that was really hard for me because like, I just want to like, just hand him off and like, "No, hug your grandson." But we did break down and we had my parents over for Easter and we just washed hands. We played it as safely as we could. But, break down, and my mom and Debbie are like, "Okay, you guys are kind of in the inner circle," because they have limited exposure too. So I felt a little more comfortable doing that. So we cheated.
That's okay. It's okay. Okay. So I have I told you at the beginning of the interview that I had a couple of questions that I was going to be asking you that I did not send you in advance. Now, these are going to be questions that are kind of like, the test where, you hold up the piece of paper and the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have 3 questions for you. And so I want you to answer like with the very first thing that pops in your brain. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter how like off the wall or whatever, but I want to know the answer to these questions. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I hope. I
Okay.
think
Okay. All right. So the first question is, what is something that you miss the most?
friends.
Okay. That's great. I love that answer. Very valid. Absolutely. Okay. What do you miss the least?
Oh, I missed the least. Just pressure of obligation, I guess. Just
Yeah.
certain things where you feel like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this. And I haven't had that feeling in a while.
Yeah. I think that might be my answer too. I love that part of this. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So how many times has Amazon visited your house in the past month?
Actually, not a lot.
Okay.
Um, maybe once to twice a week. For whatever reason, we've been more like it's been birthdays where, oops, I can't celebrate your birthday. So we've been having stuff shipped
Mm-hmm.
other places. Um, we did break down. I shouldn't show Tiffany this. Um, Casey's like, we have to get Nate a tablet. And I'm like, he's not even old. We're not getting him a tablet. And he's like, there's a kid-proof tablet, and that way you can put his videos on. So Amazon did come to our house the other day.
Yeah.
We're still learning how to use this. I feel like we're like technologically impaired or something. But we'll figure it out. But we did get a couple of his favorite videos on here. So like when it gets too much, I put on his Froggy Unicorn video and I set him aside and I'm like, just let mommy have 5 minutes to herself. And it works.
I absolutely love that. I'm a big fan of that. I am totally fine with that.
Oh,
Yeah.
and moisturizers. Cause I'm like, it's not worth the trip to like the store, but Amazon had them. And I'm like, yes, deliver my face moisturizers to my door. But we've mostly, like, oddly enough, I think Casey right now is just so busy that the time that he'd normally be on Amazon, he's not really getting on. And I'm just not really even thinking about it that much because it's not like I'm really going out and doing things. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were feeling like we had, because we're trying to buy more groceries or provision for longer, I guess I should say. We're not really buying more, but it feels like we're buying more because we're going and trying to provision for a longer period of time.
so you
So
don't
we're
have to,
not hoarding by any means, but it's just instead of me going like every 3 or 4 days, I'm trying to go like every 2 weeks, kind of limit our,
yes,
our exposure. So, we'll go and we'll spend, a large amount of money and then come home and go, oh my gosh, like we have so much stuff and we just spent so much money. But then like we eventually realized that it kind of evened out or kind of equaled out over the course of time to where we're really not spending more than our budget after all, but we're not eating out as much. But
which
we're
is
still spending our budget at home, which I don't know how that's working out because we're eating at home more, but we're still spending our budget. I mean, we've gone over a little bit, but not gone over the amount of that we normally spent like eating out. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So like I don't know how that's worked, but yeah. So I mean I totally understand that.
I think one thing I've been craving is like fresh vegetables. Casey did have to go to the store this last week. I I had all these crazy vegetables listed for him to pick up, and like he brought home a tomato, and I just like sliced that sucker and just ate it as is because I'm like something fresh because we're kind of like we're trying to do like you are. We're going every couple of weeks, but because of that, you know, once the fresh once you consume the fresh foods, then it's like all right, we have a week of Stofers
Right.
and like it's easy peasy, but then by the end of that week you're just like, "Ah, I just want to eat lettuce, good lettuce."
Yes, I completely. Yeah, we buy more frozen food now than we did in the past. And I'm hoping that that's not a trend that I continue, because it has become so easy, and I am not a cook. And I mean, I can cook. It's just not my passion. I love going out to eat. And I talked about that in one of my episodes as well. I love going out. I love getting out in the community, even if I just go and order a drink. Like, I just love going to restaurants. And so that's one thing that I've not been able to do during this time. But not only that, but like I said, my passion is not cooking, is I'm having to cook more. So, but thankfully I do have boys who are older, and, they need to learn how to cook. So I'm throwing them in the kitchen a lot more. And, my husband, he loves to cook too. So he's really good at like pulling out random stuff in the refrigerator and pantry and making it good. So, we're making it. Sometimes it's just macaroni and cheese and tuna fish, but which is actually really good. I don't know if you've ever had that, but so what do you think that you've learned during this period of time that you would like to carry forward?
Oh, I have a new appreciation for shopping. I've never been that person that's like, I love shopping. I usually don't. And I would always like try to drag other friends out with me, like, hey, I have to go to Target. Who wants to come? Like, friends that love to shop, because then it makes it more of a social thing. Where now I'm kind of realizing, like, even just going out on my own, like, before all this happened, like, wow, like, it really wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel that I want to never take for granted variety of items, because that first time we went into the grocery store after the panic, and there's just so many foods we could not get a hold of. And you hear about that sometimes in other countries. They don't have the variety. They only have what's like local and this and that. But, we've never had, like, we always take that for granted. So I think that first week, I remember breaking down in the grocery store and actually crying because I was able to find milk for a friend who needed it for her baby's bottles, because
Wow.
the nutrition wanted her to add milk instead of like water to the formula. And she's like, I can't get milk. And I remember like getting one of the last ones. I'm like, I'm so happy there's milk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am crying in the middle of the grocery store because I have milk. Like, we've never gone through anything like that, So I feel like I want to carry that appreciation forward. Like, being able to go to the grocery store really is like an amazing thing that we have here. Plentiful food, like, we can go and they usually have tons of everything we need, and we never really ever have to think about scarcity. The variety, just all those things. I really kind of want to like hold on to that. But I do know once things go to normal, I'm pretty sure that 2 to 3 months in, I'm going to be like, ugh, I have to go to the grocery store. But I'm going to try to hold on to it as long as I can.
Yeah. And one thing that Brandon and I have started doing is actually grocery shopping together. And we have never really done that. But it's been a lot of fun. And I hope that that's something that we can continue doing even after this is over.
It's definitely more fun to go with like someone with you, because then it's more social. Then it's like you're hanging out. You're not just doing like a chore or a task.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Do you feel like you have been able to find more or new adventure?
So I wish I could genuinely say yes to this one. I've been pretty exhausted lately. I think it is like just keeping up with Nate and not having that reprieve. But then I also think, well, maybe this is the adventure. So maybe this is the new adventure. I know a lot of people, like, they're picking up hobbies, doing puzzles and things like that, but I can't necessarily do that with him right now.
Right.
Like, I've tried to like pick up a couple tasks, even vacuuming, and halfway through I'm like, okay, I can't even vacuum. But then I'm kind of realizing that everyone always talks about this special time with your little ones, and you don't get that back. And then I realize, like, this kind of is the adventure, because I get that extra time watching him grow. I get that extra time watching him explore without too many distractions or time constraints, which has been kind of nice. Like, even when I came and put my phone on the little stand so I wouldn't have to hold it, and seeing him like look at it and like go for it. Like he noticed there was something new in his area and he kind of got excited about it. That's been kind of new and neat to watch because he's changed a lot just within this time frame of being in quarantine. He turned 8 months. He's now like crawling full speed. While in quarantine, he learned how to stand up, like pick himself up and stand up. He got his first teeth in quarantine and he's working on his third one. So it's been kind of neat because, we missed quite a bit. He didn't get his picture with the Easter Bunny this year.
I saw the picture that you put online though. I thought that was amazing. I was like, this is actually probably one of my favorite pictures ever.
Thank you.
Yeah, Easter Bunny pictures. It was amazing. I loved it. I loved what you did. That was a really great idea.
For everyone that's like, what? It was a picture of the Easter Bunny holding a frame, and inside the frame was a picture of little baby Nate. So he kind of got his picture taken with the Easter Bunny, right?
I loved it. I thought it was so creative and artsy, and yeah.
So we'll keep that. So we were excited about that. But different things like that where, his first Easter, I didn't go to the store to buy a basket. So I used what was around the house, and I had Easter baskets from previous years and luckily eggs from previous years. And I just put stuff that he got at his baby shower in the basket. And I was like, here you go. Happy Easter. Like this is now his grandma, on the other hand, my mom, she came prepared. But so it's kind of funny because there've been some really hard things about this. Even just watching people post online, like, oh guys, enjoy this time with family. And part of me is like, well, with Casey gone, like I'm not connecting with that part of it. But then at the same time, I see what I am getting with Nate. Mm-hmm. And would I have seen him stand up for the first time had we not been in quarantine? And who knows, maybe it wasn't his first time because obviously like you think the time you see it is his first. But anyways, would I have missed that moment? And things like that. So yeah, he's been my adventure. It's been an exhausting one, but thank God for coffee.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that the answer to that question actually kind of led into my next question. And that is, how are you transforming your attitude during our current situation? And I think that was a really good answer that you kind of gave at the end of your last answer. But is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Been a complete roller coaster. I definitely don't want to stay where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. Get out into the world. But I do feel like we can all, wherever we're at, whatever we're going through, no matter how hard it is, we can take where we're at and we can like learn from it, but also like move forward to that better tomorrow. I also feel like I feel very hopeful because even though there's a lot of like different news and different opinions that we're all having, it's kind of neat because this is our chance, I think, as a generation. Like this is our time to really like unite and work together and overcome the inevitable difficulties that are lying ahead. And so that's been kind of helping me where it's like, I don't want to stay in this place. And I do know the challenge is coming where we're going to have a lot to kind of recuperate from. And I think that kind of helps keep me focused. Like, all right, well, what can we do to do our part? And, you think of like generations before us and some of the hardships that they not only went through, but endured beautifully so to where they came out even stronger on the other side. So I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm kind of excited, but I am excited to see how that's going to unfold and if we can really be a part of that together.
Absolutely. I think that's fabulous. I've thought about the same thing. We have, as a country, have shown that we can overcome over and over and over again. And I believe that this is just one more time for us to show it yet again that we will overcome this, that this is, we're going to come out better.
Yeah.
If we continue to have to walk around with face masks, I'm not really sure how much better I'm going to feel about being better, but I'm sure, things are going to turn up, and I don't think it's all doom and gloom like everybody keeps talking about. And yeah, I'm actually very hopeful and very positive about the outcome.
Me too.
What is one thing that you would like to leave everyone with that you hope will transform their attitudes as well?
I would like to just point out that I do believe we have more in common than we're all aware of. I would challenge everyone to take the beliefs that they have and maybe try to look at it with a different point of view. Because I've been trying to do that as well, because I tend to be very opinionated. So I've been trying to challenge my beliefs and challenge my views and try to see it from the other person's point of view. And it's okay if we don't agree with it 100%. And it's okay if we don't 100% change our minds. But it's more of just trying to understand the other side, because I feel that when we try to understand, that's the point that we can move forward. Even if we don't agree with it, if we can at least understand where it's coming from, looking for that common ground. When we find that common ground, move forward from there. Because like you stated earlier, we are all in this together, and we're all going to be moving forward. Like, we're at very different places and very different situations, but this whole thing, like, we're all in this together. So if we can just unite and, like I said, like, just find that place, that starting point where we can agree on something and then move forward with it.
Right. Yeah, that's fabulous. So is there anything else that you would like to leave with our audience?
I would just say, no matter how hard it is, just know that you're not alone. That's really just, I'm trying to try to come up with something more profound than that. But I think a lot of people just really, because I know I go through that, where I just want someone to be like, you're not alone, and you're not. And it's okay if it's the little things getting you down, because there have been moments where I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm completely falling apart over this. But we've never gone through anything like this. So wherever you're at, whatever you're feeling, your feelings are valid. You're absolutely valid. And, we want to come to a place where we move forward from that. But I think it's also okay if you want to just sit down and cry every once in a while, especially if you have a newborn in your home. No, but I've had moments where a good cry has actually been very therapeutic. And I'm trying to learn to be okay with my feelings and know that they are just feelings, but it's also okay to have them.
Absolutely. Yes. 100% agree. That's great. Erica, thank you so much for being on our show today. I really appreciate it. And give Nate a big hug for me when when he's up. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate the conversation. I hope that this has been able to not only help our audience, but maybe even, help you a little bit to be able to have some conversation outside of your home. And, maybe we should Zoom call more often. Feel free to.
This is answering questions. And I feel I don't know if you have this lately, but you'll be in a conversation, you'll forget words or forget how to talk. And you realize oh my gosh, there is an art to communication. So I feel definitely before I get back out into the world again, I need to start having more conversations, even if they're like this, just so I can practice.
Well, absolutely. We need to set up a call with maybe us and some friends and just kind of hang out for a little bit. It'll be great.
With coffee.
I know. Coffee or my tea. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Erica. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tiffany.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.